Good morning. I'm in my Radical Theology HQ in LA. It's about, I guess, 9:30. I've just been out for a jog, which is my second jog in the last year. It was very short, like about 5 minutes, but I'm trying to get some energy. Thought it was the right thing to do. So thanks for joining me. Remember, you can write your comments and your thoughts. I just thought I would have a few reflections on Burning Man and how I think it relates to religion and Christianity in particular, and see where that goes. As I say, I'm doing these more than blogs at the moment. I kind of enjoy them. So anyway, Burning Man, and I haven't been to Burning Man yet, is a festival, as most of you know, on the west coast of America. That was started, from what I've heard, by a guy who was dealing with a breakup in his relationship. This woman left. He was very cut up about it. And eventually, after kind of years of not really being able to move on, him and his friends went down to the beach and they constructed an effigy of sorts. And they burnt it, and this symbolized letting go of the past. This was a powerful experience for them. They repeated it again the next year, and this continued to grow. And now, tens of thousands of people meet together. They create these massive structures. They create this huge temple as well. They put things in the temple that they want to let go of. And then on the last day of the festival, they burn these great effigies as a kind of a way of letting go. It's this communal, destructive activity. Now, interestingly, I'm fascinated by this for a number of reasons, and I've spoken about it elsewhere. I'm sure you can get talks free online that I've given on this. But this is a type of loss that is pure gain. This is a type of giving something up that is actually powerful and gives us something back. The loss has already happened. The breakup with this guy has already occurred. But by creating this ritual, he was able to let go of that loss. He was able to rob that loss of its sting. And we all, need these types of rituals in our lives. What's interesting to me is that Christianity has at its very core a sacramental activity that is very similar to Burning Man. It has a meal which is focused around a shared loss. Do this in remembrance of me, the death of God. So people gather together around a table and they eat and they remember this loss of God. It's fascinating that this is so central to Christianity, and it's very central to pyrotheology and my work. And I want to reflect on it a little bit here. In the book The Divine Magician, as some of you will know, I make a connection between the Last Supper and a magic trick. Magic trick, very quickly, generally has three parts. There is the pledge, the turn, and the prestige. The pledge is where an object is presented to the audience. So, for example, if I have a coin, let me see. I thought I had a coin. Yeah. Okay, so you have a coin, and you go, okay, here's a little coin, nothing special about it, etc., etc. That is the pledge, right? An object is held up in front of people. Then there is the turn. The turn is where the object obviously disappears. So you take this coin and you rub it on the table and you see if you can make it disappear. Now, you probably can't see this because it's a very small screen. You're probably watching on your iPhones, so it'll make it very, very easy for me to do. But if you rub it enough, what happens is the coin disappears, right? Goes into the elbow, that's the turn. But the trick is never over until the third act. And the third act is the prestige. The prestige is the return of the lost object. So here I have to go and pick up a book. I'm going to pick up The World's Great Letters. I actually really like this book. It's very meaningful to me. And we'll look up the letters between Eloise and Abelard. Great love affair. Let's see, page 34. Here we go. Oh, and there was the coin all along. Now obviously I'm not going to give up my job and become a magician, partly because I don't have a job and partly because that was probably the worst magic trick you ever saw. But the way it works is it illustrates the three parts of the magic trick. Now, what really happened, if you were watching, is when I was doing the trick, I held this coin in my left hand, was rubbing it against my elbow, right? But the turn involved very subtly taking the coin in my right hand, and when hopefully you're still looking at my left hand, placing the coin on the back of my neck. And then the coin that was in the book is obviously a coin that was already there. I placed there just before I turned on the video. So what this means is that the prestige is not the return of the same thing that you lost. You lost a coin, you think you get the same coin back, but it's actually a different coin. In the same way, oh, and by the way, as an aside, the early magicians used this term hocus pocus, and this Archbishop Tillotson said, you know what, I think that sounds an awful lot like hoc est corpus, what the priest says during Mass. And he said, you know, the magicians are kind of taking the mick out of Mass. They're saying that they're just magicians. They're just doing what we're doing, but at least we're being honest about it. And in the book, The Divine Magician, I take this seriously and go, actually, I think Tillotson's right. But whereas Tillotson thought this was a terrible thing, I thought it was a very profound insight. That actually the Eucharist has this type of structure built into it. So you have the bread and the wine. This is the pledge, the sacred object, God, the divine. Now, traditionally, in religious terms, God is seen as the guarantor of meaning, which means God is that which guarantees the structure of the universe, the meaning of the universe, why things are the way they are, etc., etc. So you have the sacred. Then you have the turn, and this is where you eat the bread, you drink the wine. This is the disappearance of the sacred. Where is it? Where is God? You know, gone. And then there's the prestige. And you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting. You've had this loss of the sacred. And then you get up, and you talk to the people around you. And someone's lost their job, and you go up to them, and you offer your commiserations, and then you say, listen, I know someone's looking for somebody. I'll put in a good word for you. Or somebody else is ill and in hospital, and you go and you visit them. And you realize that this is the prestige, right? That you lost the sacred as an object, God as an object, but God is now, you are the body. God is there in spirit in your activities. So in Burning Man, a similar thing goes on, is that you give up something. You acknowledge the death in a ritual. And then you're able to take that thing that you've given up and integrate it into your life. The spirit of the person you've lost is carried with you. So say, for example, you lose your father and you're devastated by it. But over time, you're able to let him go. You're able to mourn. You're able to remember. You're able to do that work of mourning. Then you can carry something of his spirit in your life and in your work, you know, as you go on in your daily life. In the same way, in the Eucharist, you have this idea that you lose the sacred, but you take up the spirit. In the third act, the spirit lives on, and you take that meaning on in your life and in your activities. So in this reading, the kind of the radical core of Christianity is experiencing the loss of meaning and the loss of this overall structure, experiencing kind of the loss of God as some object in the world that you love, and then discovering God as that which you find in the act of love itself, in taking on responsibility for your actions, in taking on responsibility for your life, in taking responsibility for political issues, and trying to work for a better world. So there's some initial reflections on Burning Man and the Last Supper. Now I'm going to have a little look at some of your questions and thoughts. So I'm going to bring you closer to me. There we go. My eyes are not as good as they used to be. Okay. Oh, hey, Stephen from Copenhagen. Fantastic. There's a big vote going on over in Europe at the moment, in the UK, whether Britain will remain part of the EU or not. I'm obviously hoping that they will remain part of it. Nathan's asking, is this a cup of gin? No, this is my morning espresso on my favourite little cup, which is a Damien Hirst espresso cup. You know what? They're terribly made. I was able to get one. They're all sold out now, but it's all cracked. It's not well made, but it's kind of cool. There's Tracy, a Canadian touring Ireland. If you're touring Ireland, you'd better go up to Belfast. I mean it, Tracy. Go up to Belfast, because people go to Ireland, although you're Canadian, so you probably will. In the US, everyone goes down south. Dublin, Cork, Galway. Galway is particularly beautiful. That's all very good. But a lot of people don't go north. But the Canadians do, because a lot of Canadians have connections up there. So go up north, go to Bushmills, the oldest distillery in the world. Go to Giant's Causeway. Find out about Finn McCool, and go to Belfast and hang out in the Cathedral Quarter. Go to the Sunflower, best bar in Belfast. There's a little secret cocktail bar in Belfast. It's my favourite cocktail bar in the world, called APOC. So check that out. There you go. Worst trick I've ever seen, Ray. Get out. Leave the room. That's terrible. Yeah, I also do kids' parties. I can do balloon animals, usually like intestines, that kind of stuff. Nothing more complicated. What was the book again? Oh, The Divine Magician. Not that I'm trying to, get you to buy my book, but there are blessings if you buy them. Prosperity and health. Also a few curses. I curse a few of them just to make it like Russian roulette. You don't know whether you're going to get prosperity or whether everything's going to go to pieces. But, there you go. Okay, so have a few comments, no questions on that. I hope that kind of makes sense. As I say, basically, it's saying that it's the same as in the Rothko Chapel, which I also love. The Rothko Chapel is this chapel of pure negation in Houston. You go in and it's a space that kind of critiques your meaning structure, critiques your identity. It's a kind of void-like space. In Burning Man, you're joined together not by your shared identity, but by your shared loss. And I say in Christianity, around the Last Supper, the Eucharist, you're gathered together around a shared loss. But it's a shared loss that is a pure gain. And that's the clever thing. Just like in Burning Man, it's a shared loss that is a gain. So this is a loss of a religious notion of God that ends up in a gain of what I would call a religionless notion of God. What Dietrich Bonhoeffer meant, I think, when he said, to live as though God is not given is to live fully before God and with God. And he called it religionless Christianity. To live as though God is not given as an object in the world, this object out there, to ritualize the loss of that God, and give yourself to the world in joy and in love, is actually the way of discovering the God that is spoken of by the prophets, the God that is spoken of by the mystics, the God that is spoken of by those who are into social justice, those poets, those atheists who give themselves to the world, the God that is spoken of by the humanists who will live and die for their fellow human being, those people who have ultimate concern in seeing the world become a better place for the people they love, the people they don't love, for their neighbour, whether that's next door or thousands of miles away. All right. Thank you for tuning into this. See if there's any more questions. Aaron, does the sound system work at the kids' parties? Oh, I hope the sound system's working. I hope you can hear. Are you going this year to Burning Man? I've never been to Burning Man. I find it very, very interesting. I would like to go this year. I need to find some tickets, so I'll probably go online and see if anyone can sell me a ticket. If anyone can sell me a ticket here, let me know. Oh, there's Curtis. Hey, Curtis. How do you prevent that religionless Christianity from becoming a religion itself? I see people going to Burning Man just for the sake of going. Absolutely. And if you talk to anybody who goes to Burning Man regularly, and they're called burners, they generally have that critique and concern. It's kind of just like church. They kind of go like, and it's basically the tendency to take something that is ultimate, and it's something that connects you with that which is beyond yourself, something that is, you know, that is powerful, and over time it becomes domesticated. So Curtis, I think that's always a danger for any movement, for any institution. I believe in institutions. Burning Man is an institution. It's something that has its own rituals, its space. It happens within time. I'm a real believer in that. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort by people to keep it true to itself. From what I can experience and what I know of Burning Man, I've gone to some of their events, is that there is a lot of crap there. Like, there's a lot of new age stuff. There's a lot of like, we can be one with the universe. There's a lot of this, and it takes away from, I think, the central ritual, which is, you know what, we're all here together in our brokenness, in our loss of oneness, in our disparity, in our dis-ease. And that's what brings peace. But what I love about Burning Man is, in the midst of all the other stuff that's going on, it has space for that. But its central ritual is, we make peace with the loss. We communally join together in that loss. And so in the same way, Christianity has a lot of elements that I think are problematic. I think most of it actually existing Christianity is a kind of, can act against the central insight of Christianity, just like I can act against it, but that the central rituals still have operative power, whether we know it or not. Stephen's asking, was that the chapel, Rothko Chapel I was talking about? Yes, Rothko Chapel in Houston. I just brought that up because, you know, we think of Christianity and we think of religion often as that which gives us meaning, gives us insight, gives us ideas, tells us how to think about the world, ourselves, God, why we're here, where we're going, all of that, worldview Christianity. But when you go into something like the Rothko Chapel, it's kind of a space of subtraction. It takes things away, you strip things away, and that's how I read Christianity at its radical core. It's not about adding stuff, beliefs, views, ideas. It's about an experience of subtraction from a type of being, a type of existence. That's what conversion is for me, is like the crucifixion, the cross literally meant you were subtracted from religion, you were cursed of God, you were subtracted from the political system, you were no longer a citizen, you were subtracted from the cultural system, crucified naked outside the city, you were a nobody and a nothing. Crucifixion was this experience of loss of identity and loss of everything that kind of gives you a sense of meaning. You become the complete outsider, the trash of the world. And I think that there's something very important about that in Christianity, where there is this loss, this subtraction from our political, religious and cultural worlds, our identification with the outsider, where God is always found on the outside. Anyway, it's kind of probably getting a little bit too theoretical and all of that. But thank you for joining me. We're coming up to 20 minutes, and I hopefully will try and check in the next couple of days. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.